Hi, my name is Bill Schaeffer. Our book review today is on Beautiful Minds by Maddalena Bearzi and Craig B. Stanford. One of the authors is an expert on dolphins and killer whales, and the other author is an expert on chimpanzees, bonobo chimps, the gorillas, and orangutans. Most of our knowledge about these animals is fairly recent, although anecdotal stories of both dolphins and chimpanzees or monkeys go all the way back to ancient civilization. It wasn't really until the 1960s that we started to consider the question of intelligence in apes and dolphins. And the book is fascinating. It takes each group and discusses aspects of intelligence. And in the process, we learn about human intelligence. And I found the history of the research, talks about Jane Goodall, talks about Diane Fossey, talks about the discovery of the bonobo chimps. I was surprised that the regular chimpanzees have as violent and a predatory culture as they do. Chimpanzees are extremely violent. They hunt for meat, they hunt little monkeys for meat, and they trade meat for sex. And they're very sexually promiscuous and very territorial. If a male chimpanzee strays from another territory, most likely he'll be killed. And that was a surprise. And the bonobo chimps negotiate their social hierarchies in a much more sensual, they use sex as a bargaining tool. And so they're not as violent. And their society is organized totally differently. And the gorillas and the orangutans are the most solitary of all. But the interesting thing was that there's several aspects to intelligence. And one of them is social organization. And surprisingly, dolphins have a lot of variety of social organization, but in many ways they're very similar to the chimpanzees in the groups that they have. Another one is tool use, but the big thing that I found interesting about the discussion or the meditation on intelligence is that intelligence doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's used in a social network. And the social organization and how an individual member negotiates his status within the social organization and how they communicate is a large aspect of intelligence. So it's not just forethought and model making and tool making, it's also this quality of social networking. The book gives you a sense that intelligence is not something unique to humans. That humans are on a spectrum of capability of intelligence, from the chimpanzees and the dolphins to the humans to possibly even greater and more socialized and more aware intelligences. And that it's not just something people have, but there's a spectrum of intelligence. And that's what I took from the book. Therefore, if you're interested in discussions on intelligence and learning about the current knowledge of the great apes, the dolphins, and the killer whales, I highly suggest Beautiful Minds by Maddalena Bearzi and Craig B. Stanford. Thank you, and leave your comments below.